It's a big win for President Reagan. The House has approved $27 million in logistical aid for Nicaraguan Contras. In April, the House had rejected any aid for the rebels. Earlier, the House rejected a continued ban on U.S. support for military action against Nicaragua and an amendment that would have delayed the aid for 6 months. The vote on the $27 million was 248 to 184. Accused spy Arthur Walker, part of the alleged Walker family espionage ring, will be staying in jail.
Hi, I'm Chris Cluney. TV 12 series on Main Street continues today, where we'll have a chance to meet 3 Amesbury artists. Artists whose work is unique and unexpected. Right now, we're in the home of 2 of those artists, Linda MacNeil Dailey and her husband, Dan Dailey. Thank you both for letting us come in here and talk to you. How do you feel about 2 for the price of 1 that we're getting here today?
What's the price?
That we are coming in and we get 2 artists for the price of 1. Is there a sense of collaboration, teamwork in the things that you do? Does that attitude, 2 for the price of 1, ever crop up anywhere else?
That's an interesting way of putting it, but we do collaborate sometimes, but not as a habit. More often, we help each other on an idea that belongs to one of us.
How about the opposite, is competition?
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. That's it.
But that's good. That's healthy, and we both have our own individual careers, and you can't help collaborating, living together. Whole life is collaborating, but we enjoy that.
Okay. The phrase that when people think of artists that comes to mind is temperamental artists. If that's a myth or not, I don't know. But if there are 2 of you in the same house, is that a problem?
With me, yes, he's much more calm.
It's not a big problem. If it ever is, it just doesn't. It's not something that we're preoccupied with. Actually, the most difficult thing for us, I think, is to feel satisfied about the amount of work that we get done. In other words, the amount of objects that we make, let's say, versus what we imagine is possible to do. Do you know what I mean? I have, and so does Linda, sketchbooks just filled with things that we would like to do. But we also want to be parents, and we have children, and we also want to go skiing or, just do other things.
Okay.
And being an artist means working for yourself, as a lot of businessmen might be aware of.
I was going to ask you that. Do you think that being 2 artists and being a family is different than being 2 lawyers and being parents?
I really don't have an idea.
Or the husband goes out the door to an office and the wife stays home and does diapers. Is it different? Do you see?
Well, we both do the diapers.
Yes, we
both stay home. We both go out.
The studio is in the home, so it's all interconnected. We make objects that are for homes. We make crafts or art, in a sense, and we're surrounded by it all the time. I enjoy paying attention to our living environment. I like to I'm working on making our living room more interesting, and it's constant. We've made bureaus for our children because we wanted an interesting piece of furniture rather than going out and buying one. And it's a challenge and it's fun.
I want to talk about your kids. You started it. Tell us about your kids. How old they are, who they are.
Well, go ahead.
Allison is 4 years old, and Owen is 1.5. It was all very planned. I had a career before I had children. I just like everybody else my age, is when should I have children? I put it off, and then, geez, I better do this. So it was all planned. I worked up until the day I went into the hospital. I had shows to do, and I liked to keep busy. And I think it kept my head straight during my pregnancy. And
as artists, getting back to that, I know that in our house, my husband tends to look at the kids and see how they throw a football, and I listen for new vocabulary words and sentence structures and things like that. Do you look at your kids through artist's eyes, or to see the artist in them?
Sure.
Sure, we enjoy that, but we certainly don't want to say she's going to be an artist. But sure, if she draws a really great picture or shows progress, and
what's interesting to me about kids and the art that they do is the kind of show me attitude that kids, I want to show you attitude that a lot of children have. You know, most children bring home the pictures that they made at school and show them to their mom or their dad or both. And so I think this is something that, if it's nurtured, actually may bring a person to become an artist later, because that attitude is still there, on maybe a different level or with more complex meanings, but it's still there. So we do watch for that in our children, but it's not something, like Linda says, that we kind of expect of them. And in fact, their athletic abilities, like I mentioned skiing, Allie's been skiing since she was 2, and she really does pretty well now. And so that's something we're equally interested in, or they go on the windsurfer. It's really terrific for us to see these other kinds of things happening in their development.
Good.
I don't think we have any preconceived notions of the way they might be in the future. Yeah.
Now we're going to get to the mushy stuff. I warned you. I want to know how the two of you met and came to be here. So somebody's going to start. Who's going to tell the
we
story?
both went to art school. We're 7 years difference in age, and which is interesting, is I went to the same art schools as Dan did 7 years later, just by chance.
You didn't know each other
No,
in school?
and
Well, in a way, we did.
well, not at first. I went to the Philadelphia College of Art as a freshman, and then I transferred up to the Mass College of Art for 1 year, and Dan was a teacher of mine.
That was my first year of teaching.
And then we met then, and that was fun.
Okay.
And so I was a young student, and I had always wanted to go to the Rhode Island School of Design, and I finally got in. He continued teaching at the Mass College of Art, and I was down in Providence. And we dated through that time, and then we decided we'd look for a home, and looked everywhere in Massachusetts, and found a really nice house in Amesbury, and that's where we landed.
Oh, so Amesbury was just an accident.
We wanted to live an hour
no.
out of the city.
Yeah, we were looking within a certain distance from the city, and we would rather come north than go south from Boston.
It's closer to
Although we do use the city quite a bit
Okay.
still.
But you're not in Amesbury a lot of the year. You were telling me before.
Oh no, we're here most of the time.
You're here most of the time, but you do travel to other...
Yeah, I have jobs elsewhere.
Okay. Tell us about that.
Well,
Where else you are?
mainly,
for the course of the year.
part of the year, from September till Christmas, I teach at Massachusetts College of Art. And I run the glass program at the college. And then I also have a job in France at a glass company, and I have jobs at a couple of other glass companies in America.
When you say jobs, tell us what jobs means.
I'm a designer. I make drawings and prototypes in plaster or in graphite or in glass or crystal for items which I think might be produced by the factory. and then they're reviewed and sometimes put into production and sometimes not.
Okay.
And then I also make my own things at these factories, at some of them. So I make vases, for instance, glass vases which are blown. And so I might, for instance, in France, I don't take a salary in francs. I take glass pieces which they produce for me.
Okay. We're going to get a chance now to see some of the work that Linda and Dan actually do. Part of that work we're sitting on. Want to tell us about it?
Well, that chair that you're sitting on and the couch that we're sitting on were designed for an Italian company, Cassina, in 1972. But when I made my presentation to that company through drawings, all the ideas were really impractical and too strange to be considered for production at the time. So eventually we got around to making them ourselves with the help of a woodworker friend and an upholsterer, and the rest of the parts we made right here and assembled them all here.
We didn't have a living room at all, and we wanted to save our money to make an interesting living room rather than going out and buying one. We decided to make it all. And we didn't have anything to sit on for 5 years.
But we had a lot of pedestals in here and a continuing show of our work.
Yeah.
For
Then we got an
visitors and so on.
assignment by the show in Tucson. And that's what we should do. We should build our living room environment and send it out to the museum. So we had a deadline and we got it done. And now here it is.
Yeah, we got it done at about 4 in the morning on the day that the movers came to pick it up. I'm sure the neighbors loved us out there in the front porch with a saw at 3 o'clock in the morning, buzzing away and waking everybody up.
Tell us about how these, the piece, the green glass.
Well, each chair has 2 lights in the
That's
arms
the part that fascinates me.
of the chair, and they light up your feet. It's a low-level light, so that it would be a different kind of feeling in the room. And they also have a shelf that pulls out to hold your drink.
That's good.
It avoids end
Which,
tables. There's not enough room in here. So this is, you can put it away and pull it out.
And a little light comes out of there too and lights up your drink.
And the kids have fun with this furniture, I bet.
Oh, sure. They had more fun when it was unfinished, when it was just a wooden
That's right.
skeleton.
When they were just frames,
Yeah.
they really liked that.
We lived with that for a year.
And this one is also a bed. This one pulls out, so it's a
local guy
couch.
upholstered these also.
Yeah, John Wyman, who teaches in
Whittier Tech.
Tech. Yeah, and he also does upholstery. And he worked for LeBaron Bonney here at Amesbury for a long time.
Oh, yeah. And the table is...
Well, the table is a more recent design, but we made it for the same show and the same occasion. So the idea with this table is to have a surface that holds all the clutter that coffee tables usually have, plus leaves you a surface free for displaying something interesting or
drinking coffee.
Or holding your coffee or whatever. And yet you can see through the first level in order to see what's down there. And we keep a lot of magazines. Read.
And that leads right naturally into the piece that's on the coffee table, which is Linda's.
Yeah,
and you're going to tell us about it.
That's a piece of glass. It's called a glass vessel that I made in '82. It's made from plate glass, transparent and opaque. This glass is very interesting because it was glass made in the 30s and 40s, and they no longer make plate glass in those opaque colors. Maybe because it's too expensive these days. But I have to go out and find this glass all over the country. And I think they're just gorgeous colors. So with this piece, I had the glass acid polished to make it look like the glass you find in the ocean.
Yep, tumbled.
Yeah, and these pieces are very abstract container idea. Okay, I like it so that you view into it, you see the outside of it. All the parts are made with metal and glass, and the metal is gold-plated. And I guess people might say that this looks like actually a piece of architecture, very modern.
There is an
building.
architectural...
Or a part to some big machine or something. It has a kind of mechanical look.
Well, some of the pieces that Dan showed me the other day that you've done have, and he pointed it out too, an architectural feel to them,
I also make jewelry.
which is a different thing altogether.
But the approach is the same. It's very modern, but wearable.
Okay. I think what we're going to do now is get up, and Dan and Linda are going to show us some of the pieces that are here in the room that they have done.
This is a piece I call The Clowns. It's made in 1982. It's part of a series of pieces which I made all, each piece had 2 heads on it, and in some cases the heads are interacting in a form of conversation. And the idea of this kind of a sculpture for me is to portray a certain type of character. In a way, these 2 heads on this piece are derived somewhat from Greek masks, which have to convey a feeling or an expression across a large space easily with a minimal amount of detail. The character on the right is kind of an Italian clown to me because he's got the Italian national colors. But both pieces use complementary colors here, like the blue and the orange or the green and the red. And this type of stylization is actually typical of many pieces that I've made, either dimensional or drawings on vases or other kinds of things. But this represents an attitude towards constructed sculpture, which is a kind of work that I've been doing now for at least 5 or 6 years. It's quite different from the vases, however. Could we bring over a vase? Now here's, just move that one. This vase is a piece that I made in 1976. It may be difficult to see the detail on it, but the drawings on this piece are all on the theme of dance. And it's also a very lightweight, very thin piece. Here's Fred Astaire doing some kind of a dance. Here's a dancer with a scarf. Here's a limbo dancer. And here are a couple of Siamese dancers. All the motifs used in decoration here are abstract and have no meaning other than to fill space and sort of look interesting. But the style of the vase is pretty obviously coming from Greek vessels, which I find really fascinating as historical objects and as art objects. And the vase itself, not this vase, but the vase as a format for expression, is something that's really captured my attention and held my interest for a long time. I've been making at least a dozen or 2 dozen vases a year now for about 15 years. Now here's, let's look at another piece. This is a vase from a series which all had drawings of fish. As you can see, as I turn the vase around, there are 3 fish on this vase, and they're interacting somehow, graphically anyway, by being superimposed one on the other. But there you can see the head of this fish coming around. Here's his eyeball. And the background patterns, which fill the space on the vase, are depicting in a stylized way the way light goes through water. All these drawings for fish came from a time when we were swimming underwater in the Caribbean, and all these fish just surround you when you're swimming under the water. So I thought it was a really interesting sort of view of their world, and I wanted to try to capture some of that in a way with the drawings that were used on these vases. So I made maybe 20 vases with this, roughly this shape. They're blown pieces. I made these at a school that I work at. And then I brought the blanks, the blown glass blanks, back here to Amesbury and started doing the drawings, and then the cutting and sandblasting and acid polishing is all done here or in Boston or Cambridge. So now, this piece is maybe 1981, and I've gone through other kinds of themes on other vases. There's another piece. The blank for this piece was made at the Dome factory in France, where I work. And the raw glass piece was then shipped here to Amesbury, and I did the drawing and cutting and sandblasting all around here, same as the other pieces. Now this piece is from a series of drawings which have animals and people. Now here you can see a woman and a horse. There's the woman, and as the other side of the vase comes around, you can see this horse, which is looking at its own rear end. One of the things about the stylization in this type of drawing, which interests me and has been a challenge also, is that it requires a kind of positive-negative approach to drawing, because the sandblasting has to be done through a mask, and the mask is applied first in a rubber form, and then the negative areas which are to be sandblasted are cut away, and the sandblasting is done. So it makes a really kind of constricted style for drawing. It's not as free as, say, somebody would just sketch with a pencil or pen. And yet it really suits my attitude towards drawing quite well, and I enjoy that. Also, the design of the vessel itself is something that has intrigued me, and as you can see, the difference between this series from 1981 and this series from 1982, or maybe, I think there are only 10 of these, but these are maybe 20 or so. But this is actually a Chinese form, except that it's been squeezed flat. So this kind of stylization and design is something that's really a combination of my historical interests and some interests in modern design. And this piece as well has an odd symmetry. It's round on the bottom and almost football shaped on the top. So it has it shows a kind of attitude towards design with form, as well as using the vessel for a format to express a kind of theme.
This piece here is a glass metal hand mirror that I made for a show in New York on Madison Avenue of glass hand mirrors. I decided to make a theme and stick with it, so the name of the show is MacNeil's Hand Mirrors. It might be very hard to recognize that it is actually a hand mirror, but in this section, in this triangle, is the actual mirror. These are what I call a piece of art, which is a play on a object of use, like a hand mirror, but it doesn't look like it anymore. The handle, this is the handle, is made from plate glass, which is polished and dropped down a tube, and the ends are capped. And this glass is the architectural glass that I mentioned was made in the 30s and 40s, a gorgeous blue color. And this X, I call these the helicopter mirrors, actually spin. It doesn't have any purpose, it's just for fun. Every once in a while you can just give it a spin. And this is the back. All this metal was cut and filed and soldered, and I like to play with the parts and then make a decision and then solder it together. These pieces are very, very time consuming. I talk like it's a joke, but it really isn't when I get down to making these things. Here's another view. A lot of my work is put together with little tiny nuts and bolts. You may see here. I'll show you another version of this idea. I usually show in the big cities, LA, New York, Boston, maybe in Florida, where there are many people that can come see these things. It's always fun to watch people's reactions. I make this art for myself, nobody else, but it's always fun if people do enjoy them. This is the same idea, but a different variation. And the mirror again is here. And if you want to look at yourself, you lean over. This might look nice on your coffee table just for a conversation piece. I'll get you another piece to look at. Okay. I had a show in Michigan, and again I thought of a theme and followed that theme through. This is the only piece of this idea left. I made 4 of these pyramidal vessels, I call them. It's made out of clear plate glass, and the idea is to have it like a sacred, precious object to view into. And the design is very modern. It doesn't have a particular message. I want it to be a beautiful object, and the person that decides to live with this piece can think of it any way they wish. So I guess that's it on this one. Now, I also, while I make hand mirrors and vessels, I also enjoy making jewelry, which I will show you here. Okay. This is a piece of jewelry made from clear plate glass combined with gold tubing, solid gold. The design is, again, very modern, but very wearable. Okay, I like the idea of the glass because it's transparent and jewel-like. You can do a lot of things with glass that you couldn't do with diamonds and rubies, and you have the freedom to make any shape you'd like. With this piece, I use the acid polishing here and the clear in combination with each other. I wear this piece all the time. And also, I show it all the time. I show it all over the country. Okay, I'll show you another version. This one is a little more casual in feeling. This is different beads made from different types of glass. The etched acid polish look, like I mentioned, it looks like it came from the ocean, and the other beads are made from the opaque plate glass. This piece flows very nicely. And it's long and easy to wear. Lots of little gold and glass elements. And again, I have a different version of the same idea here on this piece. This is a clear glass acid polished with very bright, playful colors incorporated. All these details are also gold rivets, tubing rivets, that connect all these beads together. And I'm still continuing making art every day and having shows constantly.
We're downstairs now in what the Daileys call the studio basement.
The submarine.
The submarine.
Some people call it the submarine because we have a low ceiling and a very complex pile of stuff down here.
We're now going to get a chance to see some of the work in progress, and Dan will explain a little bit about what's going on down here, what he's doing, and in general, what goes on down here.
Well, this is a piece in my newest series of vases, which all have science fiction drawings, so it's called a science fiction series. And what I'm doing is putting on small dots of color, which is enamel. Enamel is powdered glass mixed with a medium that burns away when the piece is fired. So I've got an enamel which approximates the color on the rim of this vase, and I've mixed it up with the medium, and I'm applying it dot by dot, like stippling, with the point of a toothpick. So this process takes a long time, obviously, and at this point now the vase has about, you can see all these little dots right in this area. So this vase now has about 8 hours in it so far in making it, and probably another 2 days of putting on dots. 1 day of just this blue-green color, and then as you can see on this one that's already been fired, it'll take maybe another full day beyond that to put on other colors. This one, the first dots that went on were black, and that matches the black rim. And then there are white and yellow and red dots. And now we're going back with more black because I just didn't feel like it was dense enough. The contrast between the unenameled glass and the enameled surface.
One of the things that I asked you earlier, why glass? What is it about glass? Both of you work with glass in different ways, but what is it about glass that kept your interest?
Well, the material itself is very fascinating. It's really an intriguing material. I started working with glass when I was a student at Philadelphia College of Art in 1967. And I had the opportunity one summer to build the glass studio for the college. And the college was given a grant by a glass company. So I really didn't have any idea what it was going to be like to blow glass, but when the studio was finished, since I was the one that built it, I got to use it first. And it was being like a guinea pig, on this project at the college. So it was really an amazing process, much different from any of the other kinds of art making that I had experienced, like drawing or painting or woodworking or jewelry making or ceramics or filmmaking. They made us try everything. And finally I settled on glass as one of the 3 or 4 major things that I would focus on. So then I stopped doing that and I did a bunch of other things between college and undergraduate and graduate school. And when I went back to graduate school a couple of years later, I went back for glass. I concentrated on glass. And then I went to work in a glass factory for a short time. And it just has been a constant interest. I've never stopped. All right, this vase still has its rubber mask and it's about to be sandblasted. And you can see here's a drawing from the science fiction series with a sort of a strange otherworldly king and his supplicants, his attendees. Now, on this piece, which has been already sandblasted and acid polished, it has some drawings of some guys I call the vasists. All of their heads are vases. And you can see they have this kind of an electric wind in the background going on behind them. Here's another vasist, sort of a classic vasist in the Etruscan or Greek style.
Okay, let's go over and see what Linda's doing. Now we get a chance to see some of Linda's work.
These are some neck pieces that are not finished but in the process. These are 2 different necklaces. This is using transparent glass beads, and this is using the opaque glass again that I mentioned. This black is a shard of glass that is cut up the same as a gemologist would cut diamonds. This is what I get these oval shapes out of. And here, these orange and red colors of 1/4-inch plate glass eventually can turn into a bead like so. And what I do is I just cut lots of beads and play with it until I feel comfortable with the design. And I'll show you some of the processes that you go through. It's usually extremely noisy down here with at least 5 machines going at once, and sometimes we have 4 people working on Dan and my projects. These pieces are extremely time-consuming and labor-intensive. We use flatting wheels, such as this machine over here, which is a heavy steel disc that spins with a grit which goes from rough, and different machines are rough, and up to a smooth, and up to a polish. And I'll demonstrate, short demonstration, how I would shape a bead. When you grind glass, you must use water with the grit, or else it would heat up and break the glass. thousands of things every day. Okay, it's like a record player going back and forth. You turn it, go back and forth. Very dirty, but kind of enjoyable thing to do. Okay, this is a 320 grit. And I'll turn it off. And then we go to the pumice, which is like a lathe with a cork wheel. And this is like mud, but it also cuts glass to a much smoother surface. And then after that stage, we go to cerium, which is on a very smooth wheel and a very fine grit. And that brings the piece up to a high polish. This machine over here is a diamond saw. And you can cut tubing, cut glass in half. And this machine over here drills holes in glass. So everything that it takes to make our art is all in this tiny little basement, but we do just fine.
Before we leave the Daileys, I want to thank both of you very much for giving us this time. And in summary, I want to ask you, as artists, what's next? What's in the future? What's in your mind for something coming up?
Shows. We usually make an assignment for ourselves by scheduling art shows. And we just continue on with themes and keep on trying to make things better and more beautiful.
Is there something that you haven't tried yet that you should enjoy?
It's never ending.
Another medium? You're going to stick with glass? I know we didn't get a chance to see with some of your other...
I have some lamps that I'm planning right now, but I don't have any examples around to show you, but I have some lamp ideas in drawing form and in pieces lying around here and there. And we've scheduled a time to be in Tokyo for a while with our kids to work in another school, which will give us another sort of perspective on things, I'm sure. And I want to make more of these wall panels like this piece that I'm working on now. I've only made about 14 or 15 of them, but they take so long to make. That's over a period of 5 years.
Oh.
So I do that along with the other pieces. Everything happens simultaneously. So I have a lot of drawings that if I just stopped drawing now and kept on making things, it would take a long time to just
Artists don't retire.
No. We take time off.
That's a strange idea.
It's like retiring your mind.
Okay, thank you very much. Don't go away. We're going to go right around the corner and meet another Amesbury artist. Stay with us.